optometrist, but she doesn't. Oh, yeah, we're recording. She doesn't just stop there, right? She also has a background in functional medicine, not just treating the eyeballs, but treating the whole body. She's got many, many certifications helping so many people, over 10 plus years experience working with our incredible products. Nutrimetrics Allied Health Professional of the Year, multiple Chairman's Challenge winners, and someone who I'm just blessed, grateful, and honored to call not only my friend and my business partner, but also my sister. So please get out your notebook. You're going to want to take a lot of great notes on tonight. She's someone with just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it right over to our lovely Dr. Alex.
Thank you so much, Alison. It's such a pleasure for me to present today. Like Alison said, my background is in optometry. I became a doctor in 2014. I finished ocular disease residency in primary care, working on my functional medicine certification, even though I studied functional medicine for many years, have certification in advanced studies in retina, certification in glaucoma laser and advanced procedures. I have a lot of different bachelors. The ones that are science related are in visual science, biochemistry, chemistry, minor in biology. I've been an unfranchised owner since 2014, really started building this business since 2024, really fell in love with the time freedom of this business and the community. Have been selected to be Nutrimetrics Allied Health Provider of the Year last year, won Chairman's Challenge, and honestly, like my biggest like I'm very, very grateful for being a member of the Philadelphia team. I think this business is really about the community, and without it, I really couldn't have done as much in this business. I'm very grateful for Edison and all the other mentors and even mentors in the company. So thanks for letting me share. I'm going to start. And honestly, today I want to focus on what can tell us about our health. My approach to supplementation and support for the eye is kind of like for the whole body. And a lot of times, I hear, like people have complaints about dry eye, headaches, blurry vision, trouble seeing at night. As an optometrist, I see these complaints every day. And what I want to share tonight isn't a list of products, it's how I think about supporting people based on what they're experiencing and what I can actually measure and how it relates to their systemic health. Couple of disclaimers, our products that we are going to discuss are not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent any disease. At the same time, my other disclaimer, I do work in a clinical setting, so there's a couple of products and certain recommendations that are actually standard of care in optometry. So we do use them to treat. So I will mention that whenever that comes around. So I know, I really believe that food is medicine. I'm not going to talk a lot about nutritional lifestyle here. I know a few weeks ago, Tamara Weinstein and other practitioners kind of shared their, way of approaching nutrition and lifestyle and how important it is. I do believe that it's 80% of healing can be done through nutrition. You can't really supplement your weight like towards poor diet. So I always think nutritional lifestyle is 80%, supplementation is 20. And our food is definitely degrading. In 1953, one salad that would give you nutrient value. Now you have to eat 43 salads to get the same nutrient value. One thing that I do recommend, and even though I'm not going to talk a lot about nutrition today, I do recommend this book if you could kind of screenshot it or remember it. I use it. It's a book about healing with whole foods. It does it talks about Ayurvedic practices, Asian traditions, really tells you how to pair foods. So I always use it as a kind of index. If you read it like 15 minutes a day in a few years, you will really learn a lot more about nutrition than what most like schools teach you about it. And it's a big book, but really use it as a guide. So highly recommend it. But basically today I'll talk about approach, and I kind of approach the system and how I treat people are I look at their symptoms, I measure their outcomes, then create a support regimen for them based on their needs, and then I reassess. So what is the person experience? What can I objectively measure? what nutritional supplemental support makes sense for that particular person, and what changes when we follow up. I'm very lucky that I work in a setting when I can have like a great measurement that actually will give me data to assess how things are changing on the cellular level. So I will share some of those things. Sorry if it's going to be very nerdy and eyeball related, but I honestly love that I can track things. And for me, it's helpful. So I hope it will be helpful for you as well. The first thing that I wanted to approach is kind of severe dry eye. I live in Arizona and I always wanted to live on the surface of the sun. So I finally made it here. Dry eye is very common. It's more common here because it's so hot. So one of the biggest complaints is burning, greedy feeling, fluctuating vision, eye fatigue, contact lens discomfort. And I found over time that when I add Vivaquin and OPC3, it really, really supports the dryness. And I'll show you a couple of examples of kind of what happens with some of my patients. But my original kind of support for that condition was heart health fish oil, because the standard of care for dry eye that we studied in optometry school was fish oil. I like heart health fish oil because it has 3,000 milligrams of fish oil. It uses small sardines and anchovies. It's processed really well, and it does have 3,000 milligrams, which also follows the dry eye study. Because dry eye, 80% of it is inflammatory in nature, I really liked, I didn't really like the drops that sometimes are prescribed because I really do think they're a little bit of a band-aid for the eyes. It's, if you use them a lot, it just lubricates you for a short while, but it doesn't solve the issue. That's why I really like going internally and go to the cellular health to kind of reduce inflammation and in that way help the eye. The reason why I changed to Vivaquin, and if you've, heard me talk before, if you've been around me, I know that I talk about Vivaquin a lot. It's one of my favorite products. And I really love it because unlike Heart Health, which is also a great product, Vivaquin does have 1,500 milligrams of fish oil, so which is less than Heart Health, but it has about, it uses small fish that's sourced out of Norway. They're, more concentrated, but also it has black cumin seed oil. So a combination of fish oil and black cumin seed oil penetrates the eye structures deeper. And because it's in the triglyceride form, it's a natural form of fish oil, it penetrates the ocular structures a lot deeper and the absorption is a lot better. So most of my patients actually feel it a lot more than just heart health. I also added OPC3 because OPC3, obviously, it's a flagship product in our company, but it also really focuses on two things, inflammation and circulation. I use it a lot for inflammation when it comes to dry eye because it helps, the meibomian gland tissues. It works synergistically with Vivaquin, but also I do have a population base that's a little bit older, so they do tend to have other inflammatory conditions. So even though I don't treat those, I do talk about recommendation and support for those needs. So I have a lot of patients who have, high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, arthritis, and a lot of times because the root cause of those diseases is also inflammation, that section of their health is being supported at the same time. So these are a couple of examples. So I wanted to show you what these pictures are. I stole them. They're not from my patients, but I kind of tried to find closest pictures to my patients as possible. A lot of times, this picture on the right of meibomian gland dysfunction, most people don't really have very healthy glands. They kind of have that middle or last picture where almost their glands look creamy and there's a lot of inflammation. So OPC3 actually reduces that inflammation a lot, and the Vivaquin kind of penetrates that, so the oils become a little bit closer to that picture on the first, the healthy gland. Also, when I add Vivaquin, I've noticed that some of my patients kept coming in with this keratitis that looked like picture number one with like the green eye. It's basically sections of dryness that really hard to get out with drops, with, a lot of times people really need extra support. And sometimes we even have to add amniotic membranes, which literally we have to put it on the eye and it heals it really well. But it's very expensive for the healthcare. Like, for example, one amniotic membrane, it cost healthcare about $1,500 just to put one membrane on each eye. And obviously, most people have two, and usually they look the same. So before I treat someone with amniotic membrane, I always try Vivaquin because of that absorption. I've noticed that after a month of using Vivaquin, the eyes tend to start looking like the second picture. And for the patient, it's actually really great because when you see like when they come in, when they have so much keratitis, they feel a lot of greediness. They feel like they have really severe dry eye. They usually come in and say, I use eye drops every 5 seconds, or I use them 7, 10, 15 times a day. Obviously, the quality of life when you have to use drops that often is not really great because you're very aware of how dry your surface is. So after they take Vivaquin, they tend to come in and their eye looks a lot clearer. And sometimes, yeah, you do have a little bit of, the keratitis here, but um, most of the time, people don't feel the dryness anymore. So their quality of life improves. And I have tons of patients like that. So that's why I'm a big fan of Vivaquin. So if you haven't tried it, really highly recommend. The other disease that I keep seeing is diabetic retinopathy. Obviously, we treat diabetes a lot. And you can, when you look at the eyes, you can see what diabetes is doing inside the body. Because the fun fact about eyes, it's the only part of the body where you can see blood vessels directly that are not covered by the skin. So if you start seeing bleeding in the back of the eye, you can just correlate it to the rest of the body. And well, if there's bleeding here, you have bleeding everywhere. So obviously with diabetics, I do recommend nutritional changes first. And, a simple one, even the way you eat. If you have a plate of food and you start eating vegetables, then protein, then carbohydrate, you will have about 50% less of a sugar spike if you reverse it. So it's always important to start with vegetables. But like I said, I'm not going to really go over a lot of other nutritional changes that I mentioned, but I add the protocol of OPC3 and vitamin D for every diabetic. And the reason I do that, obviously, we have 3,600 different products, and there's isochrome and level 90, and just a lot of different combinations that you can find for the person. The reason why I use OPC3 and vitamin D is because OPC3 obviously helps with the blood vessels. With diabetes, there's pericytes, these little junctions that basically become weaker, and that's why you start getting bleeding. When you take OPC3, it becomes stronger, but it also helps get rid of the blood on a cellular level and get rid of it from the retina. At the same time, vitamin D with K2 really reduces complication rate in diabetics. So a lot of longevity data, especially by Dr. David Sinclair, talks about vitamin D. It's in all of the longevity protocols. What I also found, if you give somebody a recommendation that's very simple, because OPC3 and vitamin D, you can mix them together, you can drink them at the same time. It's very easy to follow. A lot of diabetics that I have are male, and men sometimes are a little bit harder to recommend things to because they don't like anything complicated. Women can do 15-step skincare on their faces. A man, sometimes use their butt soap to wash their face. So it's the same thing with supplements. Women can take really complicated versions. Men usually tend to just keep it really simple. When I recommend OPC3 and vitamin D together, it also really creates a vitality protocol for men where it supports their testosterone with vitamin D. It improves their libido, blood flow, prostate, so they feel better. But it's also easy to follow, which is really important. This is one of the picture of the patient that I had, and I originally saw him in April. So we took the picture of the back of the eye, and the picture on the left, I circled like all these areas of bleeding that he had the first time he came in, and he had a little bit of macular edema, had a little bit of infarct for high blood pressure. But then I saw him in about 4 months, and his eye, and this is only one eye because I didn't have enough space to put both eyes, but he only had one, spot. He did have a little bit of an infarct that I forgot to circle, but it's more related to high blood pressure. But his retinopathy kind of changed from moderate to mild in 4 months. And I also did a test called ERG, which is a test that tests functional health of the eye. So, for example, when we take the picture, it shows us the structural health. So, it shows us bleeding, but it actually doesn't tell us a lot of information because you can have 5 people with the same amount of bleeding. If you do this other test, it actually shows the stress level of your cells, and if the cells are dying or if they're very unhealthy. So, for example, somebody with a 24 diabetic score, that means that in a year, they'll probably have an issue of some vision loss and some potential complication from diabetes in about 46% of cases. Somebody who has diabetic score under 19, that means in a year, they'll have zero progression in diabetic retinopathy, and they probably won't lose any vision. So in this case, this patient started in April, his score was 24. In July, his score became 18.1. So the reason why I brought him back was because I needed to follow him up based on that original score every 4 months. But because the last time I saw him and his score was 18, I'm actually going to see him in a year. And this wasn't about replacing diabetic treatment. This was nutritional support alongside appropriate medical care and ongoing eye monitoring. But what I loved the most, though, was the patient testimonial, because this patient, he was pretty young. He was born in 1958, but patient was able to get up, go to the bathroom, take a shower by himself for the first time in several years. It enhanced greatly his energy and his vitality. It did take him about 2.5 months to notice some changes. It takes years to get into a disease state, so set proper expectations about how fast things will, support you. I always stress out that we're adding supplements. They're not medications. They're supporting the building blocks of the body, and patients need to use them consistently for at least 1 to 3 months before adjusting. So with him, I love that testimonial because when he came in on that 3rd or 4th month follow-up, he was just so excited because he couldn't do these things and now he could. And obviously from my perspective, I really like the fact that I could actually see, the functional and structural changes that happened in the back of the eyes. So another case that I wanted to go over were the headaches. So, a lot of people, they come in and they kind of have the belief that they need stronger glasses because they were getting headaches, or they need glasses because they have headaches. And they always think they just need to increase the power. A lot of times what I found that obviously headaches can have many causes. So the first thing I do when I evaluate for somebody for a headache is to make sure that their eye and their brain isn't the cause of the headache, so there's not something malignant there, and something that needs urgent medical attention. When kind of all those malignancies are ruled out, I recommend protocol of wearing glasses full time with best corrected visual acuity. And then I also add magnesium to the protocol, and then I reassess in 1 month. The reason why I started doing that, because I was lucky enough when I started working as a optometrist, I worked next to a neurologist who, I would knock on his door and I would ask him questions. And he said, if somebody comes into you and they don't really have swelling of the optic nerve, they don't have tumors, they don't have any visual field loss, give them glasses, make sure that they wear it full time, and then give them magnesium glycinate and citrate. And he says that 85% of headaches go away with glasses. So just switching glasses will improve the headaches, but 99.5 of headaches go away when you also add magnesium to it. I love our isotonics magnesium because it does have both glycinate and citrate, and the absorption is so good. And I have tons of testimonials of patients where I implemented that protocol, and their headaches, their frequency of headaches decreased, sometimes completely went away, their pain level went down. But one question that I always kind of ask whenever somebody comes in with headaches is, how are they sleeping at night? Because sometimes when people have issues with sleeping, it also can indicate that they might be magnesium deficient. Generally, right now, vitamin D, vitamin B, and magnesium are the top three deficiencies that are around. Magnesium has been on the rise because of the food. About 15 years ago, most people didn't have magnesium deficiencies, but now a lot of people do. So if you kind of recommend magnesium, a lot of people will feel better because chances are they are magnesium deficient. But the next case I kind of wanted to go over is neuropathy. So sometimes the problem isn't just with the eyes. A lot of times people experience neuropathy and they feel burning, tingling, numbness, sensitivity. A lot of times it is associated with diabetes or nerve conditions. Because I treat so much diabetes, I get that a lot. And neuropathy can have many causes. I don't present supplements as a cure. I look at nutritional support as one piece of the person's overall health. Um, what I usually look at the systems when I recommend products. So a lot of times with neuropathy, I look at their mitochondria, I look at their nervous system because, everyone's CoQ10 levels kind of gets depleted with time. And if somebody is on a statin, obviously it also gets depleted even more. But someone who is a diabetic, if you give them CoQ10 and they have neuropathy, it really boosts up their mitochondria so they feel better, their energy goes up, and they don't feel those symptoms. At the same time, I recommend, B complex for the same reason because the nervous system gets impacted. And a lot of people with neuropathy, they don't feel good. So a lot of times when people are struggling, if they don't feel good, if they take vitamin B, they will start feeling better. I already talked about OPC3 extensively. It does improve the blood flow, so a lot of times that also helps neuropathy. And the last one is Vivaquin, or heart health fish oil. It really boosts the brain health, and it also makes people feel better. So I had one patient, and she had neuropathy for years. When I originally met her, I recommended dailies and heart health fish oil because she was asking for something very simple. And obviously our daily essentials, are very easy to use. When she came back in a month, she actually didn't really like the result of the dailies. There was some ingredient in the multivitamin that didn't really agree with her. So I switched the protocol because obviously we work one-on-one with our patients. And I changed it to OPC3, Vivaquin, and CoQ10. And she's been taking that for the last, 5 or 6 months. And for the first time in 2 years, her pain actually subsided. And she actually felt more energy, less pain. So she became very, very content. And obviously that was just approaching her as a person with her like specific needs. And I was trying to really help get to the root cause of that. The next and the last couple of products that I wanted to go over, and I think if I didn't talk about them, Ellison would probably make fun of me forever. But I wanted to talk about Prime Vision and astaxanthin. So um, can nutrition support visual performance? Macular degeneration, we always have this disclaimer that we can't treat people with certain supplements. One exception, though, is the ARED study was done for macular degeneration, and they did two studies that took about 30 years each to determine that there are certain supplements that actually do help macular degeneration, especially the dry form. One of them is called AREDS2. So Prime Vision is based on AREDS2 formula. And I always recommend it for anyone with macular degeneration. What I loved about that particular formula is because it also has bilberry extract. And I love that the company put it together in one formula because I was studying with one doctor when I just started out as an optometrist, and he did a lot of studies that are really well known in optometry. He was an ophthalmologist, Dr. Sinclair, who had a lot of heart complicated patients sent to him from other ophthalmologists. And he always said, whenever he treated macular degeneration patients, he just put them on bilberry extract. And he said he needed bilberry to improve visual acuity in those patients if they had vision loss. So I kind of followed that standard. And when I saw that Prime Vision had bilberry built into it, I really loved that. So I started changing patients from, MacuHealth or PreserVision, Acuvite, um, AREDS 2, and I've noticed better results on it. So for example, I had one patient a few weeks ago that was a monocular patient. She originally came in seeing about 20/50 in the right eye and about 2400 in the left eye. And all she wanted to do was drive without restrictions. Having the vision of 20/50, you're restricted to driving during the day only. I switched her to Prime Vision because it's the standard of care for macular degeneration. And 3 months later, her vision was 20/30 in the right eye and 2400 in the left eye. That left eye was damaged from wet macular degeneration. So after 3 months, she actually was able to drive during the day and night according to the driving laws. I also noticed that she did have a little bit of dryness and tear film instability. So I did add Vivaquin to her regimen. And then when I rechecked her a month later, her vision was 20/25 in that right eye, which was, she was very happy. In terms of her quality of life, it changed a lot. So really love that product. The last one that I wanted to talk about is astaxanthin. It's a powerful carotenoid antioxidant, helps protect cells from oxidative stress. It's actually one antioxidant that doesn't get oxidized, so it keeps working. Really like it. There's a lot of research on astaxanthin and visual fatigue and ocular function, but it also studies in a lot of endurance because originally, it can be prescribed for the eyes, but it also can be prescribed more broadly for the other systems. And I usually use it for patients that are not macular degeneration because AREDS 2 is still the standard. So I do recommend Prime Vision. I do use it for people who work out a lot, stay out in the sun, or have gut issues and want to support their retina. One fun fact about astaxanthin, and I appreciate it because I live on the surface of the sun in Arizona, is that when you take 6 milligrams of astaxanthin for about 6 weeks, you are less likely to get burned. So you have kind of a natural sun protection in your skin. Obviously, you can't go outside and be in 125-degree weather for hours, but if you go out for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you are protected. At the same time, it also really helps the gut issues in terms of naturally healing ulcers in the stomach. So a lot of people get put on antibiotics, but this is kind of an alternative support for that. If they want to, not take antibiotic, or if they want to add something else that would treat it a little bit better. Obviously, this is kind of a cheat sheet of some of the protocols that I mentioned. We have a lot of different ones that we can use. I like using them in the practice where we practice, but obviously we have other protocols specific for different people with their different needs. Kind of my final point is my approach to supplementation is I always listen to the customer because they can tell you how you can get help. And you don't necessarily need a degree or like a doctor's degree to help others. Anyone can help other people if you just understand what system is having an issue, whether it's brain, mitochondria, inflammation. You can really support those pathways. So make recommendation based on systems that need help and describe the benefits and share testimonials to create impact. People will try supplementations if they understand why they're taking it. A lot of times when I talk to people, I really talk about the benefits and I do share stories because a lot of times people just need to understand that we do care about them. And pay attention to what people say and they will tell you how you can help them. So kind of my call to action is honestly like speak to a few more people, ask them more questions, and they will pretty much tell you how you can support them. So thank you so much for letting me share. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, everybody, give it up for Dr. Alex in the chat. Please show her some love. And Alex, I do see some questions, right? So Rufus has asked about pterygium. You have any recommendations? I think I'm pronouncing that properly. Pterygium.
Yeah, obviously. So pterygium is actually something that grows directly on your cornea. So in that case, lubrication tears do help just for lubrication. But also the biggest thing with that condition is to wear sunglasses because that's sun damage on your cornea. Um, it's not, I mean, it's a physical growth, so it's hard to get rid of it unless it's surgical.
Beautiful. Love that. Okay, our favorite Dr. David Meltzer has a question. Will Prime Vision help patients improve VA with an ERM?
So generally, I mean, I sometimes try it because ERM, I mean, it's a film on the macula. It really depends on how dense it is. Generally, I wouldn't think it would, I mean, it would support the nutrient in the macula. It's still not going to get rid of the ERM. So it depends on how dense it is. But because it's also like a physical film on the macula.
Okay, follow-up question from Dr. David Meltzer. Does Prime Vision help patients with glare while driving at night?
It does. You can ask Allison about.
This
Allison
is
is
true.
actually a great testimonial for that particular.
This is true. This is why I plug that product because literally I could not see driving at nighttime, Dr. David Meltzer. I was wearing sunglasses at night while driving. So Prime Vision for the win. How about, okay, supplements for eye strain?
Interesting. So also Prime Vision is one of them. I do like to pair it with magnesium because it's the same kind of pathways. But yeah, Prime Vision is really great for eye strain. It took me a while to really try, but now I'm a believer. A lot of my patients do like it. When people have eye strain or night glare, I do recommend it. Obviously, if they have macular degeneration, I always recommend it because it's the standard. But very nice product, and it's also very simple to take. A lot of vision vitamins, you do have to take it twice a day. This one is just one pill and it's tiny, tiny.
This is true. It is tiny. I started with a double dose. I'm not going to lie. I took a double dose of Prime Vision for an entire year. Question unrelated, but related to what you're doing, Dr. Alex. What functional institute did you get your certificate from? Nathan A. would like to pursue.
Sure. There's a school called School of Applied Functional Medicine. I liked it the most because depending on what your degree is, that one allows, like if you're a health provider, you can plug into it, it's online and you kind of can do it at your own time. There's also a like Institute of Functional Medicine. They're a little bit more strict and you do have to be in class some of the time. So sometimes it's not convenient for people who work all day. Oh,
Okay. Now the chat's blowing up, Dr. Alex. Okay. Another follow-up question from Dr. David. Will Prime Vision help patients who have cataracts, also post-cataract surgery?
I honestly do believe that it won't hurt, simply because whenever people do cataract surgery, sometimes we are worried about, macular edema or certain complications from it. So I do like to recommend, OPC3 to those people as well for better blood flow. I do recommend Prime Vision because most of the cataract people prior to that had issues with with glare and night drive, so it won't hurt them. One other thing that I really like about Prime Vision, which I kind of didn't mention before, it does help your brain health. So there's some study that basically says if you have vision loss, like whether it's macular degeneration, just vision loss, like whatever condition you have, and you also have hearing loss at the same time, you are 25% more likely to develop dementia. And prime vision, because it has carotenoids, it does feed the brain as well as the eyes. So I know that was kind of not the direct answer, but I thought I would share.
I love that. That's beautiful. Okay, we have another glaucoma question. Can any of the supplement help with glaucoma eradication?
So glaucoma is a disease that's not really cure, like it's treatable, but it's not curable. So the whole idea with glaucoma, the only thing that we can really control is the pressure. So we try to lower the pressure. So basically, this is a little bit morbid. We want to outlive the disease. So whenever we really get into longevity, there'll be a lot of blind people walking around. You know, like anyway. But what I do recommend for glaucoma, since we don't a lot of times know the mechanism of why some people develop it, and we really only know to control it with pressure or lowering the pressure. I also do think there's a relation between kind of pressure, your blood pressure and your eye pressure. And some of the things that I do recommend, and I've seen some benefits from it, and obviously that's like anecdotal to the practice where I work, because I have a lot of patients on OPC3, sometimes like I've noticed that because of their blood flow is improving, some of the like their glaucoma looks a little bit better. But obviously it's not like a curable disease. So there's no specific vitamin for glaucoma, but I think the blood flow is related throughout the body, so there will be benefit for that.
Okay, beautiful. We had a LASIK surgery question from Dorothy. I had a LASIK surgery and had too much skin taken off my cornea. This affects my vision in certain temperatures. Any recommendations?
So, I mean, LASIK surgery, you're really reshaping your cornea. So a lot of times, a lot of people have dry eye after LASIK. They have a lot of glare. Sometimes they become insensitive to cataract contact lenses. They can't wear contact lenses anymore. So sometimes your cornea becomes thinner as well. What I would do, because obviously you already did the LASIK surgery. I'm not a huge fan of LASIK surgery. I don't personally would never do it myself. But what I would do is I would really support like inflammatory pathways and also just lubrication. That's why like I love Viviquin for just corneal tear stability. So it might help. But a lot of those things, that is one of the side effects of LASIK. Sometimes people and becomes permanent in a lot of cases.
Hmm, this is good to know. Okay, couple questions around supplements help farsighted presbyopia.
Okay. So everybody after 40 tends to become presbyopic and everybody becomes more farsighted with time. Um, I know Ellison is fighting that fight with prime vision. She's not ready to go into bifocals yet. So honestly, there are some things, yes, like some exercises that can help with presbyopia, but it is what tends to happen on a cellular level is your lens tends to become thicker and less flexible, and that's what causes your focusing ability to go down. So with time, even Allison might need glasses for it, but she's gonna fight until like the last possible minute.
I am. Nothing against glasses, right? And see your friendly eye doctor. Okay, and I believe Dr. Meltzer had another good question. Where did it go? Lack of blood. Okay, what about possibly OPC3 if the glaucoma is from a lack of blood flow?
So honestly, like I don't know the answers to those questions, but I do believe there's a correlation. I mean, you can't look at an eye and I mean it's connected to everything in your body. So if you improve blood flow, I do think there's correlation there. Can I give you like data? I don't have that study because we don't have that one yet. So I think, but eventually, like I always think if you're breathing, you should be taking your PC3. So it won't hurt.
True. Okay, another question here. What products would be recommended to improve a negative 4.25 vision?
So one thing actually, so when you're, an adult, it's hard to change your prescription because the only thing that creates your prescription is the length of the eye that you can't really control when you're an adult. The corneal surface that gets changed by, laser or LASIK, and the lenticular like shape, that's your natural lens. You can't really control it. What you can do though, you can't really help yourself with that because with time, after 40, your prescription will become less negative. So, like in your 40s and your 50s, it might be minus 325, minus be like 250. So it will become more farsighted with time. What I do recommend though, if you have kids, there's a lot of treatment for myopia management when they're teenagers that can prevent and slow down the axial length. So you can actually prevent the development of myopia early on if you just bring your kids to an eye doctor early enough. There's lenses for that. There's glasses for that. It's a big myopia management is actually exploding in the eye care. Yeah, NAD plus, somebody commented, has helped mine. Yeah, I mean, NAD plus does help. Sometimes certain supplements would help. I don't like Ortho K. I mean, it's a treatment that, I mean, it's a lens that basically reshapes your cornea, but you're still technically minus 425, even though your prescription changes because you're pressing on your cornea.
Mm.
Yeah, so Ortho K is a treatment you can do, but I feel like myopia management, if you do it early on your kid, you can prevent the growth of the eye so you don't have to get to minus 425.
Okay, and we have best supplements for eye strain, long time on a computer, nighttime vision issues, sun sensitivity.
So Prime Vision, Vivaquin, OPC3, magnesium. But Prime Vision is really a powerful supplement. And Vivaquin, I really, I mean, I love it for the stability of the tear film. I think it's such an underrated product. I mean, I probably talk more about Vivaquin to everyone on my team to the point where when they see me, they're like, Vivaquin, but it is a great product. I think it helps so many issues because it's in that natural form that penetrates everything really well, but also it really just, like impacts the cells on the cellular level. It helps immunity. It helps the lung health. I don't know. And the tear film looks beautiful. I mean, I've had so many patients who had to do those amniotic membranes, and I barely ever use them now because of Vivaquin. So I'm a huge, huge fan.
Mm,
Was
beautiful. Okay, Na is a little bit nervous about having LASIK on Monday, and I would say you can certainly reach out to Dr. Alex. She is very willing and accessible to help all of us and amazing. But any tips for that, Dr. Alex?
with LASIK, I mean, it's not a terrible surgery. I just personally don't like it. If you're going for a LASIK surgery, I would just not go to LASIK Plus. I feel like it's a little bit more kind of like a retail version of LASIK. I would go to a doctor that can easily tell you what the complication rates are. And it's great for people from like 23 to 35. I just personally, like with my vision, I always thought that by 65, I'll have minus 250 vision and I won't have to wear reading glasses and I'll be very happy. But that's a personal choice. There's nothing wrong with LASIK.
This is good to know. Nathan A. asks about the isotonics vision formula and if you recommend that ever.
So honestly, I don't, and it's not because it's not like a good product. I found that I do recommend isotonics quite a bit, but I do recommend like vitamin D, OPC3, magnesium, the daily essentials. And I find that Prime Vision and Heart Health lines are such powerful lines that I don't also want people to be on isotonics for everything because there is a little bit of sugar in those. And I think some of the products that are like fat soluble in the capsules, they just really like the absorption is really good and it's like a different way of absorbing them. So I am a huge fan of Prime and Heart Health Vision, or I mean like Heart Health lines. So I usually recommend those over like isotonic versions. Like Astazent, then I tend to recommend Prime. What is it? Yeah, like lutein. I find Prime Vision has a little bit more than just lutein in it. So that's why I don't really recommend Vision Isotonics because I think that formula is closer to AREDS too.
Beautiful. Dr. Alex, thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight. Guys, next steps, right? Please do endeavor to follow Dr. Alex along. She is on Facebook, she is on Instagram. I know we had a lot of people asking for the recording of this call, so we will get that to you as soon as it is processed. And please get with the person who invited you onto this call. Follow the advice of Dr. Alex, improve your eye health, and please feel free to reach out to the person who invited you onto this call to join our next call and to be a part of our amazing community. Dr. Alex, any final words for us?
No, no, I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. We love you, Dr. Alex. Guys, show some love for Dr. Alex in the chat and thank you for spending a little time with us on this Thursday evening. Dr. Alex, you're just wonderful and we love you very much. All right, guys, everyone have a great night. See you.